trying to maintain this pursuit. They're not going to let him go too far.
Hey guys, today we're going to be watching police chase suspect for LA. Let's get into it.
Continue through the West Adams district, again eastbound on the 10 freeway. There's an airship up overhead. I'm not exactly sure which agency, although I believe that is still the Burbank PD airship that made its way over here from Burbank. So there was Burbank PD behind him.
Okay, we are following a police chase.
Air support above him.
Now, Burbank PD and Burbank helicopter air support is behind him, passing through West Boulevard. They're on eastbound I-10,
nobody else in the vehicle,
heading towards West Adams.
in the driver's seat, and now you can see officers very, very close on his
and now this chase
all the way
started took place about 20 minutes ago.
They've been following very closely, and that may very well be a CHP. It looks like that is a CHP black and white right behind him. So CHP now officially taking this over. There have been several officers from CHP following this pursuit. He went through their central district, and once again, this is the LA CHP central office.
This is the LA CHP central office.
Freeway, eastbound on the 10 freeway.
Making its way onto eastbound Interstate 10 freeway.
Of the officers pulling back at this point. Sometimes we have seen this with many pursuits, in fact, where they will go into tracking mode when it becomes too dangerous. But given the nature of what has occurred with this driver in trying to injure an officer, very erratically,
driving very erratically,
possibly a DUI suspect. They want to bring this to an end, but they may have to pull back at some point. Chris, this is so dangerous right now.
So the official handoff just took place there about 2 minutes ago.
Handoff took place about 20 minutes ago.
They're going to now take a little bit of a step back, and CHP now the primary agency in pursuit. So this was a suspect wanted by Burbank police. They've now backed off, letting CHP handle the freeway portion of this pursuit. And again, as we continue to watch him make some really erratic moves, it really raises questions and speculation as to the capacity of this individual behind the wheel, and also very worrisome for how this could potentially end. Somebody so desperate now to flee authorities. Driving that we're seeing here is very, very scary.
Very scary. Not a lot of traffic. When drivers of that vehicle on that pursuit ran people over, that's so shocking. Like collision, unless he loses control, if he goes out of control of that car, if the car loses control, goes out of control of that car, the car goes out of control. They're running the plate.
A stolen vehicle? Are they getting a sense of who they're dealing with?
Just that there's only, I mean, they're pretty confident that there's only one driver behind the vehicle.
It's not a stolen vehicle or it's a stolen vehicle. We can't tell, we don't know it's a stolen vehicle or it's not a stolen vehicle.
Like this started as a generic traffic stop.
When they approached the vehicle, when things got very dangerous.
Whether there are any injuries involved with that incident.
Unclear whether there are any injuries.
From what we've been able to tell so far, it looks like the officer was able to escape unscathed as far as we've been able to tell. We're trying to get some more details on that incident that happened in Burbank where the suspect tried to ram into a police officer. Not sure if he contacted the vehicle or what those circumstances were, but that's when the pursuit began. It was on surface streets in Burbank, and then he eventually took it onto the freeway, which, as you mentioned, is exactly where law enforcement would rather deal with this suspect, especially considering the time of the day and the light traffic on the freeway. The freeway is absolutely the safest place for this pursuit. So he took it off of surface streets onto the 5 freeway, through the East LA interchange, and now we find ourselves on the 10 freeway, crossing through downtown.
Find ourselves into 10 freeway, crossing downtown.
He had an opportunity to transition on
They had an opportunity to take the 110 freeway.
We are heading now through the downtown area. And this started in Burbank, as Chris mentioned. We're not sure exactly what the nature of the stop was, but it was very dangerous, with officer or officers nearly being hit, injured, when this driver suddenly took off and the door almost hit and took out one of the officers. That's where it began in Burbank, and now it continues on the freeway here in downtown Los Angeles. Chris, what is traffic looking like ahead of this?
Still, as far as I can tell, pretty sparse off the nose here. A little bit of traffic to contend with, and he's just going to continue this pattern of weaving through here. Looks like he's going to hug that left lane for the time being. Still doing excessive speed here, upwards of 80 miles per hour. So the speed limit there is probably about 65 miles per hour, doing a good 15 over, and at one point was doing well over 90 miles per hour. That's not the dangerous part. The most dangerous part is the way he's maneuvering the vehicle through this traffic. Anybody he sees in front of him, I mean, he's almost lost control a couple of times, but managed to actually make it through. When he got off at Venice Boulevard and then tried to get back on, he had that on-ramp kind of blocked, and he really kind of squeezed through past the in between another driver and the wall, and was able to squeeze through without coming into any contact with any other drivers. But now, still, as you can see at this point, pretty much has this portion of the freeway relatively to himself. And again, CHP continuing the pursuit here through Boyle Heights now.
Looks like he's taking a transition road. Is he changing freeways right now? Is he going on to... Tell me.
Yeah, he's in the East LA interchange, so he's continuing still on the 10 freeway, but this is where the 10 freeway kind of curves north, and he'll have the option to either stay on the 10 freeway or maybe even get onto the 5 freeway if he intends on getting back into Burbank's jurisdiction. Presumably, since that's where this all started, maybe he's from there. We don't know that, but surely officers on the ground probably have a better idea now of where this suspect resides, or at least where the vehicle is registered to. But we are now heading back into that, back in that direction towards Burbank, but we're continuing now northbound through the East LA interchange, which is technically the eastbound side of the 10 freeway. Still looks like he's still on the 10 freeway.
And Chris, just based on his pattern of driving, it seems like there aren't a lot of options for the pursuing officers at this point in terms of like a spike strip or a pit maneuver.
Yeah, a spike strip is out of the question, especially with other cars on the freeway. Very rare to see that on the freeway anyways. Pit maneuver, obviously going way too fast for a pit maneuver. Another example of something we wouldn't really see on the freeway under these circumstances. It's really just a matter of waiting him out and waiting to see how much gas he's got left in the tank and hoping he keeps it on the freeway. They're going to try and stay as close behind him as possible. If the watch commander gives the go-ahead to put this into surveillance mode, maybe they will back off slightly. They've got the airship in place so they can keep an eye on him. He won't get very far, but maybe if they want to bring the temperature down, they can back off. On the contrary, though, you can see that CHP officer not giving him much room to play with at all. Maybe 3 or 4 car lengths between that primary unit and the suspect's vehicle. There are also 2 or 3 additional CHP units right behind him, and he's slowing down just ever so slightly, giving CHP officers a chance to kind of catch up here. Certainly doesn't look like they are backing off at this point. They're going to continue to keep a very close tail on him and continue this Code 3 pursuit. Lights and sirens on the freeway as we continue northbound now on the 5 freeway. So this is territory that they actually took to get into the LA area. Southbound on the 5 freeway. Now we are back northbound on the 5 freeway, heading back towards Burbank.
And Chris, those of us who work the night shift, who get off work between 11:30 and midnight, know that there's a lot of nighttime construction projects on freeways throughout Southern California. They choose to do that so they don't disrupt the commute in the morning or the afternoon. So there might be some overnight things that people would have no idea are happening if they drive these same freeways during the day. Are you seeing ahead of him or on the 5 freeway any sort of construction zones or anything like that that could slow this down or cause some traffic issues?
Well, unfortunately, as you are so right, Mark, those construction workers are often the most vulnerable in a situation like this. We've seen situations where suspects will just ram right through construction zones. As I look off the nose, I don't see any construction apparent from our view up here. A lot of those projects begin around 11:30 or even after midnight, but at this point, I don't see any construction that will come in his way. Just a few brake lights as we make our way past Griffith Park, but other than that, things are looking relatively light as we get into the 11 o'clock hour here. Again, CHP kind of cornering that second to left lane there, another unit behind him, so they're going to kind of create a sort of traffic break if they get a chance that'll kind of separate the main traffic on the main lines there and that one suspect's vehicle. If they can get ahead of him here, they may actually form a traffic break up ahead. But that's difficult to do. I'm sure they're trying to get those units in place and presumably even Burbank PD possibly preparing for this person to enter their jurisdiction once again, maybe deciding to get off the freeway at some point. If he lives in Burbank, it would not be surprising if that's his eventual exit off of the 5 freeway. At this point, though, continuing northbound on the 5 freeway, picking up a little bit of speed due to the light traffic. At one point, again, you saw a few seconds there ago, about 90 miles per hour. Still hugging that left lane, and CHP continuing to stay right behind him here, but you can see just a few cars to contend with off to the right. He's actually got that number 4 lane, though, pretty much to himself.
And the word is that there is just the driver on board. There are apparently no passengers in that car, and the only reason we know this is because the officers had pulled this person over, or tried to pull the person over in Burbank earlier this evening. And so they got a good look inside the car, but that's when this individual decided to make a run for it, and almost injured an officer by hitting, sounds like hitting the officer's car door, Chris?
Well, see, that's information that I know we've been trying to get. I'm not sure if we have that confirmed or not, but that was the scare, that he was literally trying to ram an officer or an officer's vehicle. If he took off the door, that would be new information. I have not got that confirmed, but it was a scary situation. It was put out as a battery suspect on a law enforcement officer, and that's when the pursuit really got going. Once he got on the 5 freeway, Burbank PD basically sent all their units in this direction, and then CHP eventually taking over the pursuit. So we're continuing that northbound past Griffith Park here. CHP is still the primary agency. They handed it off from Burbank a little bit earlier, as you saw, and now we have 2 agencies monitoring this, but CHP is the lead agency here, and we are still trying to gather some more information on that initial traffic stop that caused all of this, where he decided to try and ram into an officer, or as you mentioned, Michelle, maybe even took off an officer's door.
Right, and he is passing by, if I'm not mistaken, he's passing right by our ABC7 studios at the moment, right? Pretty much on the 5 freeway, approaching in the Griffith Park area. So
yeah, our station's about 2 miles off the nose here in Glendale as he makes his way through Atwater Village. We're kind of entering the Glendale jurisdiction now, right past the LA Zoo, northbound on the 5 freeway. As I look up towards the 134 interchange, a little bit more traffic. That'll be a decision point for him, whether he decides to stick with the 5 freeway or decides to jump onto the 134. But that is going to be the next junction here as we come up on Glendale.
All right, well, if he gets on the 134, one of those construction zones I was talking to you about earlier awaits him at the junction. Well, maybe I shouldn't say it if he's listening, but there's a possibility that there could be a construction zone ahead of him, depending on what decision he makes about whether to stay on the 134 or continue on the 5. This is a Nissan Altima being pursued here by at least the CHP and the City of Burbank Police Department after a traffic stop, an attempted traffic stop, resulted in some sort of incident involving him ramming or attempting to ram an officer. So here what we see some cones
There's
right here.
Construction barrels right there. Yeah, they have that left lane actually shut down, getting ready for some midnight construction, just as you mentioned here. And sure enough, this is the 5 freeway still, where he's encountering a little bit of construction prep. Still able to get by on the right side there, but the road definitely, the freeway definitely narrowing for him just a little bit. But again, CHP still able to maintain that distance there, and you've got that one primary unit. I can't help but notice how closely that primary unit has maintained the whole time here. No more than 5 or 6 car lengths between the officer and that suspect's vehicle, and they're continuing the pressure, continuing to maintain pressure on this suspect as we continue up through Glendale here. Still on the northbound side of the 5 freeway. It looks like he's going to commit to the 5 freeway as we pass the 101 and the 134. And I count 1, 2, 3 CHP units directly behind this suspect.
Well, it'll be interesting to see if he gets off on surface streets here in the, well, still in Glendale, but approaching the Burbank area, because that is where this all began. And we've seen many times with pursuits that this is what happens, where they go back to where it started. And many times it's familiar territory for the drivers, and now going around at this construction zone.
More construction,
wow.
Yep. So really only 2 or 3 lanes on the right side there. As you can see, he's slowing down with the traffic through the construction zone, and it looks like he managed to pass a whole set of cones there. Now passing that construction zone, continuing north through Burbank. We are now in Burbank where this all started. Looks like that driver's side window is now coming down, or at least cracked about halfway open from our vantage point. A little bit difficult to tell. We'll see as they airship that night sun overhead there, whereas he provides a little bit of light for us. You can kind of get a better look at that driver's side window. But he's definitely slowing down now and coming up on the next exit here. Let me see here. Looks like he's maybe getting off or pulling over here as we continue up towards Flower Street. Looks like he may be possibly running out of gas, coming down to a crawl and stopping on the freeway now. Stopping on the right side of the freeway, pulling over towards the shoulder, not quite, but trying to probably put the pedal to the metal. I don't know if the car's got much gas left in it, but he's certainly coming to a slow roll here at Flower Street. Northbound side of the 5 freeway at Flower Street is where this appears to be slowing down. Speeds about 20 miles per hour, and looks like he is running on fumes. You can see that driver's side door, that driver's side window about halfway down, as we mentioned, and it looks like he's now fully onto the shoulder.
All right, well, this could come to an end very quickly. Hopefully without injury, without incident to anyone involved. And we're about to see, this is pretty close to, still pretty close to ABC 7, if I'm not mistaken. And we might be able to hear the helicopters from the studio here. And slowing down, are they stopping, are they cutting off traffic behind him? And they set up one of those round robin things where they cut off traffic?
Yeah, the traffic brake has been established. There's now at least a half a dozen CHP units right behind him, including some Burbank units overhead, and the airship, as you can see, squarely over him. But they have established a traffic brake behind him, and it looks like he's moving with the driver's side door completely open now. So he's got the driver's side door open, continuing this joyride northbound of the 5 freeway at Flower Street is where this is now coming to a little bit of an erratic end here. After slowing down, you can see he's just stepping out of the vehicle, but this is not what he's being told to do. They want to see him put his hands and arms outside of the vehicle. Now he's just walking out of the vehicle. We're going to widen out just in case anything unpredictable happens here, but he is just acting very erratically. The driving was erratic, and the way he just opened that door with the car still moving there and just stepped out of the vehicle, obviously something is going on with the suspect.
Yeah, that is not what they want to happen. They want the person to throw the car keys out of the window and then get out and have their back toward the officers and then get down on the ground.
Thankfully, there is a whole contingent of CHP officers. They were ready for the end of this pursuit, which is now a felony stop, but there's no need to wait for additional backup. They have everybody they need, all the resources in place they need to deal with this suspect. They have all of the resources at their availability, including use of force, and Leslie LaForce, God forbid, that's necessary. But this suspect now standing next to his vehicle, looks like he may be complying, but you can see a number of officers with their weapons out and ordering this suspect to probably turn around, I would imagine, and face away from them. Right now he's facing them about maybe, I would say, 30 feet in front of that closest officer there. So they are giving him orders. Obviously, it's a little loud down there with the sirens and the helicopters and all of the commotion, as you can imagine. But this suspect, who's been driving very erratically, still acting fairly erratic with his, he's waving his hands and arms. We don't want to zoom in too much here, but we can give it a little tighter there, Rob, and we push in just a little bit. I don't think that he is armed. I don't see anything in his hands there. Do you?
I do not.
All right, I think we can go ahead and push in just a little bit more, and it looks like they may be asking him to lift his shirt there. Just a little hard to tell from my vantage point, and it looks like they're gonna take him down here, right here on the freeway. Obviously, a very unpredictable suspect here, and they were forced to act very quickly here. Wow. Look at this.
That's how they're supposed to do it when you've got an uncooperative suspect. Although the knee to the body, I'm not sure is what is required here. That is a police officer there. That is not a CHP officer who was administering those knees to the suspect's midsection. But the swarm is a tactic that was enacted by LAPD and other agencies after the Rodney King incident in dealing with an uncooperative suspect, so you don't have officers standing there tasing someone repeatedly or something like that. So they all just jump in, everybody grabs a limb, and basically immobilizes the person. The knee to the torso is not something we ordinarily see, and I want to make note of what we just saw.
Yeah, something happened down there that prompted that initial rush. I mean, they rushed him very suddenly. It was very clear that he wasn't complying and didn't appear to be cooperating. And I thought I saw him lift his shirt. And whether they saw something they didn't like or he just was refusing to comply, they felt like they were forced to make a decision there and rush the suspect, charging at him as he was kind of starting to run away from them. And eventually they took him down, I believe, possibly, from what I'm hearing, possibly with less than lethal force.
It looks like something hit him and bounced off, and he crumbled as soon as it hit him, and you could see what looked like, what I thought, Michelle, looked like a beanbag round that bounced off.
Yes, it seemed like a ricochet. Maybe we can see that video. I'm not sure if it's possible, but if we can, we'll definitely play it while we continue to watch this. Major freeway is shut down now as police deal with the suspect. This is the I-5.
Next stop, Rio Linda and Bell.
Please move on. Process in motion.
She got white acting secretary. I was like, I had to walk because they were gay. She was like, what? Why didn't you come home? I was like, you were going to get mad if I said that. She was like, no, I was not, but now I'm mad. Like, bro, yes, it was. Yeah. So good. Like, I told her, I don't know what the word is. I don't know. She was like, I can tell you her high. I was like, yeah, because I was walking. Like, I was like, this was school. I was doing it. I was but I would never make you walk down. Girl, your mom don't walk a lot. Because I'm fucking you with that. I got one.
Eating as well. Then you pursue. The whole scene is cleared. Once the traffic is cleared, they can go. And as well, we're gonna wrap it up quickly, shortly, just a minute or two or so.
Yeah, I drove all over that problem. Because at first, okay, so at first, I didn't know, like, where to go. I was driving in Illinois. So, I don't know, it just was like, I couldn't breathe. Like, I kept trying to drink water, and I was like, it was like, it's coming in, but I was trying to breathe. So, I was like, what's this? And I just was like, what is he doing? I was just throwing up so bad. So then, anyway, so then I started throwing up again. Like, and then she was like, oh, what's in the bathroom? And I started running to the bathroom, and I couldn't stop my throat, so then I started throwing up in the hallway. And then when I finished in the bathroom,
Right. Bye guys. The next one. Bye guys.